the real like meat on the bone that we're going to see this week is that Donald Trump, MAGA, elected Republicans, by feeding, by feeding into their supporters conspiracy theory bullshit over the last decade, they created a monster that they no longer have control of, and that monster has become autonomous. Um, you know, during the 2016 campaign, we saw, the whole Pizzagate thing. Hillary Clinton was engaging in all kinds of child sexual abuse and rituals and whatnot in the basement of a pizza place outside of Washington, D.C. And they listed an actual pizza place, and it was a pizza place that didn't have a basement. And one of Donald Trump's, protect the kids supporters went there with an AR-15 and opened fire. He shot his gun. He didn't shoot any people, but he went to prison because he believed. He believed. And so many of Donald Trump's right-wing media people and influencers like Jack Posobiec pumped that Pizzagate thing hard during 2016. And then Donald Trump got elected. And then starting towards the end of 2017, then it became QAnon. And that took over everything. Because again, as with the first, in Pizzagate, the perpetrators were Democrats. In QAnon, the perpetrators were Democrats and people on the left and lefty Hollywood types. Trump supporters don't give two shits about victims. They only care about the perps. And we had QAnon for years, and Donald Trump was going to bring down the cabal of people on the left. And then in 2019, Epstein fired back up again. Thank you to the hard work of Julie K. Brown of the Miami Herald, who wrote an amazing book on this and ran a series of articles that prompted a new series of investigations into him. And Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were both arrested. And then in August of 2019, Jeffrey Epstein died in his prison cell. And, but that was 6 years ago. Jeffrey Epstein died 6 years ago. And here we are. Because Donald Trump campaigned on releasing the Epstein files in 2024. Because he told his base, and because his base were dumb enough to believe that all of the perps were people on the left. Bill Gates, George Soros, Tom Hanks, Bill Clinton, all people on the left. They don't care about the victims. How many Republicans in the House or the Senate have you seen go out of their way to try to interview any of Jeffrey Epstein's survivors? None. How many right-wing media or TV shows have tried to get Epstein's survivors on as guests and interview them about their experiences? None. They don't give a fuck about the victims. They care about the perpetrators because Republicans and Donald Trump have fed them the bullshit line that all of the perps are Democrats. It's not about protecting kids. It's about bringing down the left for Trump's base. And for a huge part of his base, releasing the Epstein files, releasing the client list was the reward that they had been promised in exchange for reelecting him to a second term. They'd been promised that by people like Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, who are now in charge of the DOJ and the FBI. And Trump's base is like, where is it? Give us our stuff. And then Kash Patel and Pam Bondi come out and say, well, there is no client list. There was no evidence of blackmail. There appear to be no further crimes that warrant investigating, so we're closing down the investigation, and we're not going to release any more information or documents from the file. And the MAGA base lost their shit. The MAGA base lost their shit. And so now that this discharge petition is coming up for a vote tomorrow, Tuesday, Mike Johnson understands that he's backed into a corner. Donald Trump understands that he's backed into a corner. Because House Republicans understand that they're backed into a corner. And they have to vote in support of the discharge petition. They have to vote in favor of compelling the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files, because they're not going to spend the next year of their lives heading into the midterms going back to their home district to endless questions from their constituents and local media. Why did you vote to continue the Epstein cover-up? Why are you covering for pedophiles? Republicans in the House are like, I'm not fucking doing that, man. Sorry. I'm not doing that. And so there's going to be 100 or 150 Republicans in the House who are going to vote in support of this. And then we get to the Senate. Yesterday on Meet the Press, we got a new talking point from Senior Senator John Barrasso from Wyoming. We got a new talking point from him. He was on, so I'm reading from an article on Raw Story. Key GOP senator has facing significant pushback from political analysts and observers on Sunday after he refused to commit to even holding a vote on the discharge petition if that legislation makes its way to the Senate. They might not even hold a vote on the bill, let alone vote for or against it. Republican lawmakers in the House are expected to hold their vote on Tuesday to release the Epstein files, something that Donald Trump repeatedly said during the election that he would do. John Barrasso discussed the possibility of voting on the legislation on Meet the Press. Now, here's the new talking point. Here's the new talking point. And bear in mind what we're talking about. We're talking about the largest international pedophile ring that this country has ever seen. Quote, "This is not about truth. This is about an attempt by Democrats to make President Trump a lame duck president, and I'm not going to aid and abet them in their effort to do that." Again, doesn't give a fuck about the victims, the survivors. He doesn't care two shits about them. He doesn't care what Jeffrey Epstein actually did because he doesn't care about the survivors or the victims. All he cares about is Donald Trump. Matthew Van Dyke, founder of Sons of Liberty, watched that clip and said, game over. He just admitted that the Epstein files are so bad for Trump that their release will end his presidency. R.J. Souter, communications consultant, wrote, "All you are doing is aiding and abetting pedophiles. If Trump is innocent, then release the files. Only guilty folks cover it up. That is what you would be enabling." Fred Wellman, a Democratic candidate, said, "This is about covering up crimes, period. These pathetic people have sacrificed their morals and ethics for political power. They hate sex trafficking until it's their people who are doing it." Author James Surowiecki posted on Twitter, "What does Barasso think is in the files that would make Trump a lame duck president if they are released?" It's like they don't even understand what they're admitting to. And I want to go back to that first one, Matthew Van Dyke, founder of Sons of Liberty International. Game over. Senator Barasso just admitted that the Epstein files are so bad for Trump that their release ends his presidency. If he's innocent and there's nothing in there, how would that make Donald Trump a lame duck president for the next 3 years? It's like they never go that next half step. They never go that next half step. It's just like they just don't have a logical or tactical bone left in their bodies because their brains have been so pickled over the last decade by Donald Trump, their fealty towards Donald Trump, and the fact that they live in absolute fear of Donald Trump's base, because Donald Trump's base are crazy and violent. And when you go against Donald Trump, those people threaten to kill you. Just ask Marjorie Taylor Greene and what she has experienced over the last week since Donald Trump called her a traitor because she called for the release of the Epstein files. And now she's getting death threats from her own constituents. The circle of life. I love this for them.